Environmental causes of the flood. Well, let's start with the date first. 2004, 16th of August. The environmental causes, it was the end of Hurricane Alexandra. So there was a massive hurricane in the USA that brought a significant amount of rain over to the UK. There was 2 months of rain in one day, or even better, 55 millimetres of rain in 4 hours. The area of Boscastle has steep V-sided slopes, so the surface runoff is really fast. So that amount of rainfall in a short period of time led to significant amount of flooding. Human factors contributing to Boscastle. Well, Boscastle's built on a floodplain. Floodplains by the side of rivers are meant to flood. If you build houses on a floodplain, you can expect your house to be flooded. So the fact that people built there in the first place is a human reason for that disaster. The other issue you had there was the impermeable surface. Impermeable means the water won't soak through. So the tarmac in the car park and across the roads meant that the water couldn't soak into the ground. Also, one further environmental one I've just remembered. There'd been significant rain before the Boscastle flood, which meant the ground was already saturated. So the water table was really high, and more water couldn't soak down away from the ground. How were humans affected? Nobody died. There was well over 200 people evacuated to the nearby farm. Over 100 cars were swept away into the sea. 7 helicopters had to be brought to rescue people from houses. It was the largest air rescue since the Second World War. And people were escaping out the top of their buildings. And obviously people in the village lost their income from particularly people who owned shops and various things for a number of weeks and years. Overall, Boscastle's benefited because people now go there to see where the flood was. So you talk to the shopkeepers now, they will say, in the short term it was a bad thing because we had a few years with not much income. But as time has gone on, more and more people are visiting Boscastle, seeing the village, and so tourism has boomed, and the place is in real growth. How is the environment affected? There was a significant number of trees uprooted, and those trees ended up blocking the bridges, which caused further flooding problems. All the cars that were washed into the sea, a significant number of cars have not been recovered. The pollution caused by that. The sewers overflowed. And so there was a spread of waste around the area. Immediate responses, well, we mentioned the 7 helicopters, people were evacuated from the area. Long-term responses, £10 million has been put into flood defensives. They've raised the height of the river. They've increased the depth of the river. They've created an overflow channel so that if it happens again, there's space for the river to overflow into a different area. And there's been a significant number of houses rebuilt. Okay, that's Boscastle. Let's do the Japanese earthquake. Japanese earthquake happened 11th of March 2011. It was a magnitude 8.9 or 9 different books earthquake. It's the plates that it was situated on was the Pacific plate and the Eurasian plate, and that meant it was a destructive plate boundary. Now the key environmental impacts of the earthquake is it triggered a tsunami wave. And that wave, on average, was about 10 metres, but was up to 40 metres high, which is the height of a 13-storey building. The other major impact was there was a nuclear power plant destroyed, and that leaked radiation into the local area, and that area will now be uninhabitable for hundreds, if not thousands, of years. So significant damage to that local area. Human impacts from the earthquake: 15,886 people died. There was significant damage up to 10 miles from the coast, and over 1 million people had to be evacuated from homes. Most of the people who died, more women than men died. So I think it was 2/3 of the people who died were women, and particularly older women died. The economic impacts: $309 billion US dollars it cost. It is the most costly natural disaster ever. How did the government initially respond to the earthquake? There was an 8-minute tsunami warning given, so even I knew it was happening because I watched it on the TV here in the UK happening. And they provided a 1-minute warning, so that's the length of time it took from the focus of the earthquake to reach land. 1-minute warning for the earthquake as well from the point it happened. Long-term strategies. Only 15,000 people died because Japan is an MEDC, because their buildings can withstand the shaking, because they've got the early warning systems, because they've got a 10-metre tsunami wall around many places. They've built this strategy to stop it. School children know what to do in the event of an earthquake. Like we do fire drills, they will do earthquake drills. Put that into contrast. Now, Haiti earthquake. Turn over your page. Haiti earthquake happened in 2010. It was a Category 7 earthquake. That means it was 100 times less powerful than the Japanese tsunami. However, 230,000 people died. So a significant amount more people died in Haiti and Japan. And that's because the buildings weren't built to withstand shaking. Big problem that happened with Haiti is that the government building was disabled. So there was no command centre to coordinate a response effort. People were on their own, and it actually turned to the international community, who started using the airport as a base, to start delivering help and aid into the area. There was about 300,000 injuries, and people were scared to go back into their houses. So they camped out. So they found football pitches and places away from buildings to live. And so if you look on Google Earth, you can go back there, you can see blue tents everywhere. For up to 2 years, there was these camps with people refusing to go back into the buildings for fear of future earthquakes and issues happening. Now with that, with the delay to the response effort and the clear-up effort, what happened was there's quite a lot of dead people. And so afterwards they had an outbreak of cholera. So that's an environmental impact. And the cholera is a disease, water-based disease, that when it gets into the waste system, people can contract it and die. And so they had a significant number of people who died from cholera. Because there was no government sort of in control, police wasn't really in control, crime became a problem. People began to loot houses. People didn't have anything, any food, so people would go looting houses and shops instead. Okay, Mount Etna. Mount Etna is an MEDC. So Mount Etna erupts most years. Tectonic plates are the African plate and the Eurasian plate, and again it is a destructive plate boundary. Now the key thing with Mount Etna, the environmental impacts from it, is that we get our Sicilian lemonade there. We get our tasty lemons that makes more expensive lemonade, which means people want to live there. The other thing with environmental impacts is when eruptions have happened, there's a ski resort on Mount Etna, and the ski resort gets affected because lava comes out, melts all the snow, and over a number of times the pylons and things have been affected. Human impacts of Mount Etna. There's no real year that we can use for Mount Etna to say this eruption happened and so people died, because it just doesn't quite happen like that. Mount Etna erupts all the time. 77 people have died in total in Mount Etna ever, and none in the last 30 years. In 1988, 2 houses in Zaffarana were destroyed, and occasionally lava does come close to houses, and people then are forced to evacuate. What have the government done to respond to eruptions? Well, the government put in place, they put concrete blocks in to divert lava. They create safe zones, areas where people can go away from the effect of lava. They educate the local people. They tell them what to do in the event of an eruption. On some of the big eruptions, they've dropped explosives to divert lava, to create craters so that the lava drips into it and then doesn't flow much further. And in some places they've also built trenches. And they are some of the long-term strategies as well. Now put that into context, Mount Etna is an MEDC. The other issue, with Mount Etna you get is that ash cloud will frequently close the local airport, Catania. So that affects the economy of the area, so tourists can't fly, people get stranded, because planes can't fly through ash. Going to Mount Merapi, LEDC earthquake. That Mount Merapi is in Indonesia. It's near the city is near Yogyakarta. I'm sure there's a better way of pronouncing that. It's a destructive plate boundary between the Indian plate and the Eurasian plate. It's a composite volcano, tall, thin. Now, Merapi erupts with viscous lava, sticky lava. It has explosive pyroclastic flows, a lot of pyroclastic flows, and it has lahars. Indonesia gets a lot of rain, so that creates mud rivers. In 2010, Mount Merapi erupted, and environmental impacts was it was the eruption with the most recorded pyroclastic flows coming from the volcano. Over 1 million people live within 10 miles of the volcano. But again, it's because there's highly fertile soil. People in less economically developed countries want to live in places where they can grow crops easily to earn the most money. More people are working in primary industries. 386 people died. The big one with Mount Merapi was the volcano shape changed. The whole top was blown off and the height of it reduced by 30 metres. There was a significant ash cloud that went around the area, and for that year it destroyed the crops. Obviously future years that helped develop, but in 2010 there was a severe crop shortage. Now, how the local government responded and long-term strategies, just mix these two together. The government now has put in safe zones. So they have put in some areas where people can go to in the event of an earthquake. In this 2010 eruption, there was a massive international aid effort. lots of people were made homeless and they were given aid shelters. There was appeals for help on the TV and in the UK, and people would send that equipment over. Now, the key thing with all these case studies, MEDC tectonic hazards don't kill as many people as they do in LEDCs. However, in MEDCs they cost more. The Japanese earthquake was the most expensive ever. And it's the most expensive because they have expensive buildings, but they have insurance that pays for it. People in LEDCs don't have insurance. They will lose their homes, or less people will have insurance, and they will lose their homes. And so the economic damage in MEDCs is greater, but the life cost is lower. LEDCs, death toll is higher, but the cost is lower. And similarly, just the difference between earthquakes and volcanoes. Not many people die in volcanoes. Volcanoes are not that dangerous when compared to the effect of an earthquake. And there's some of the things that you just need to be contrasting when you get these questions, such as describe the human impacts of an MEDC and an LEDC volcano. Okay?